Good morning and get ready. Michigan's movers and shakers are packing their bags and preparing to head north. In a little more than a week from now, leaders from all walks of life will converge on that historic, picturesque lilac and horse-filled jewel tucked comfortably between the narrow straits of Michigan's upper and lower peninsulas. Today, we'll preview the influential and always sold-out Mackinac Policy Conference. What's this year's theme and agenda, and which leaders will take center stage? We'll ask our guests, Sandy Barua, President and CEO, Detroit Regional Chamber, and Peter Quigley, President and CEO of Kelly and Chair of the 2025 Conference. It's Sunday, May the 18th. I'm Chuck Stokes, and this is Spotlight. Sandy Barua, you're no stranger to this program. You and I both have seen a ton of Mackinac conferences. I cannot think of a more interesting times in terms of backdrop than when the conference will be this year, whether it's world affairs, national affairs, state, local, change in who's going to be running the city of Detroit, economics, all the above. I know you didn't plan it quite like this, but you got to deal with it.
Well, under the theory, it's better to be lucky than good. We are meeting at a time where there is so much uncertainty, as you said, internationally, nationally, economically, and politically, that we couldn't have picked a better time for the conference. Peter and his CEO council have done a great job picking an amazing group of speakers. I'll tell you that this is probably the most relevant agenda we've had to meet the moment in time that we're in many, many years.
Peter Quigley, welcome to your first time on Spotlight, and congratulations on being chair of the 2025 Mackinac Policy Conference. At least I think it's congratulations, right? They probably didn't tell you about what all went into it beforehand. There's always a theme to the Mackinac Policy Conference. What is it this year?
Well, building on what Sandy said and what you said, we believe that there isn't an organization in Michigan, whether it's business, government, education, media, non-for-profit, that's not impacted by all those things you identified. And so in a time of massive change, disruption, and frankly polarization, the importance of gathering can't be overstated. So we wanted to recognize that talk and debate is not enough, though. It's not enough alone to deal with the challenges we have, which is why we landed on this year's theme, which is Michigan's equation for impact. And that's where vision and tools meet action to create a positive impact for the region and the state.
I was looking at the Mackinac Policy website, and I was reading, I guess it would be sort of the mission statement that was part of there. And it said, Michigan will thrive when we define a clear vision for a better future for our people, businesses, and the environment. Michigan will grow when we invest in tools, technologies, and infrastructure. Michigan will prosper when partnerships are built that overcome barriers and drive meaningful action. And then I was struck by those words with the report that came out just a few days back. For the third time in a row, Utah, by USA Today and USA News and World Report, listed Utah as the best state in America. And then I was reading a little statement from one of their Republican representatives of their chamber there, and he said, Utah's culture is we want to understand, we want to listen, and we want to find common ground. Those two statements, even though they weren't written by the same person, sounded very similar. Is that what you're trying to do? You gotta listen, you gotta understand, and then you gotta reach some common ground.
Well, that statement that you read that's on the Chamber website is a Peter Quigley statement.
Okay, then you did right.
Okay. I can assure you that Peter did not write the one from Utah.
No, he did.
But, I'll just briefly say that, there's so much uncertainty out there that in order unless we do what what Peter suggested in his statement, what the representative from Utah suggested in her statement, which is listening, working together, developing the right tools, and executing, the action piece. We're not going to survive well this era of uncertainty because Michigan is at disproportionate risk of many of the national policies that are being kind of implemented or contemplated right now. Tariffs are going to have a disproportionate impact on our industry because we're so capital intensive, particularly the automotive industry.
Absolutely. Peter, you want to piggyback off of that?
Well, action. Again, building on the idea that debating and discussing, sharing ideas. I mean, that's what the policy conference is known for, and it's built a great track record of doing that. We need to turn that vision and policy into action because that's ultimately what's going to change the trajectory of the region and the state in a way that hopefully one day when you read that report, it will have Michigan at the top of the list.
All right, very good. We're going to take a quick little pause for the calls. We'll come right back. We'll talk about some of the issues and the agenda that you're going to be dealing with, some of the speakers, and what you hope to accomplish. We'll be right back. Stay. Let's talk a little bit about the agenda and what you see as some of the major topics that you hope will guide this particular conference.
Good.
We've been working together for a while now. I sound like a broken record, but this theme of uncertainty around the automotive industry, right? We have not just Bill Ford and his daughter.
I noticed that.
Yeah, Andrea Ford English. They're going to be on stage. We have a panel devoted just to automotive, and we have thought leaders around that. Is how does the automotive industry navigate this really uncertain time? You mentioned that how uncertain things are internationally. We're bringing in Ian Bremer, the CEO of Eurasia Group, who is a international risk analysis expert, national economic policy, Austin Goolsbee, who serves as the president of the Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago. I mean, we are trying to really hit all of these elements of uncertainty and get super smart people to help Michigan leaders understand and help prepare for what's to come.
Sure. Peter, I'm sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, to bookend the Ford family being part of the agenda, we also have a great panel of CEOs and founders who have started Michigan businesses and created very successful enterprises. And so talking to them about how they started a company in Michigan, how they attracted people to Michigan, retained them here, built companies, what challenges they faced, what strategies they deployed, I think is a great bookend against the iconic Ford family to talk about growth in Michigan.
Yeah, and you come from a background where you deal very much with people and personnel. As you look at what's happening, not just in Michigan, but all across the nation right now, small businesses, as Sandy said, the tariffs, the impact that it may or may not have, we'll have to wait and see how this is going to all shake out. But small businesses are always the backbone of American industry. What are you hearing from people that they want to hear at a Maximum Policy Conference so that they go back smarter and being able to make sure that whatever business they have, they can weather whatever storm may be coming or is here?
Well, Chuck, it'll probably come as no surprise that I think the centerpiece of small and large enterprises is talent. And I think that's what we hear from our customers, and that's what when we talk to businesses. And talent is at the centerpiece of the equation for impact. It's really the catalyst for it. And really anything is possible with the right person in the right job, with the right skills and motivation. And even in the age of AI, talent is going to be behind innovation and growth. Yeah. So we think talking about how to attract, retain, develop the best and the brightest here in Michigan, in fact, all of our citizens here in Michigan, will be a really interesting topic of conversation at the conference.
Sure. You're going to have the movers and shakers there from all different type of industries, whether it's the nonprofits or it's the automotive industry or it's our political leaders in Lansing and Washington, all of that. Let me point out a couple things and just get your reaction and how you think this may play into what you're trying to do there. Partisanship is certainly something that everybody's facing right now. But I've also seen some signs of some things here in Michigan that you might be able to look at as positive. We look at the governor and the president of the United States with Speaker Hall, Matt Hall, in Macomb County announcing a major initiative there, suffrage, money and jets that are going to be coming into there. We look at top awards that we've gotten here of our public spaces, whether it's Campus Martius or it's the Riverfront, coming off the heels of the NFL draft, which sort of rebranded how people saw all of this. Do you see some positive signs that saying, even in the midst of a lot of question marks out there, that we may be seeing some maybe unusual partnerships that may pay big dividends here?
No, well, absolutely. Listen, those of us who live in Michigan, live in Southeast Michigan, have so much to be thankful for and so much to be optimistic about. I mean, the city of Detroit has gone through a decade-long renaissance that no one could have predicted, right? And you just mentioned some of the kind of capstones of that. And, you mentioned, what the governor did when she was in Washington and the announcement that was made out in Macomb County. The governor's doing her job. The governor is out there focusing on what matters to Michigan, and she's ignoring the politics, and I really applaud her for that. I'd also say that in addition to working together with Speaker Hall and President Trump on suffrage, she and the Speaker are trying to cobble together a deal on roads. And so I applaud them both for their leadership.
And Asian carp.
And Asian carp, which might be a bigger issue than the roads at the end of the day.
All right, we're going to take another quick break. We'll come right back right after this. Peter, quickly, one of the things I saw on there, sports is going to play a role here. You got the WNBA, some key people and some big names to come in and talk about that and how that may play into our future. You got Pete Hoekstra, who came out of Michigan here and leading the Michigan Republican Party, and now is the ambassador to Canada at a most interesting time, all of this. Talk a little bit about that and some of those people and what you hope their messages are going to be.
Well, I think in the case of Ambassador Hoekstra, if you had asked him or any other candidate for that position a year ago what his role would be, I think the answer might be a little bit different.
I think so.
And so how timely it is to have a Michigan native in that role who understands so intimately the challenges that Michigan and the industries in Michigan face, to come to speak to us about what the policies are regarding the relationship between the U.S. and Canada. I think that's going to be a great session. The sports and the WNBA, I mean, hearing from a number of very key individuals about trying to get a WNBA franchise back to Detroit. I mean, you talked about the NFL draft, but how great it would be to reignite the passion and the commitment to women's sports here in Detroit. So we're really looking forward to that panel. But all of them speak to making a difference and the impact that I referred to before, which is really the theme of the conference. How do we work together, as Sandy noted, with the governor and the president and speaker? People have different opinions and come from different places, but ultimately, oftentimes, can find the common ground and share an outcome and the credit for the outcome by working together.
Sure. Sandy Barua, the Detroit Regional Chamber, I think, third largest chamber?
Yes,
okay.
In the country, yeah.
And you kind of watch over close to like 5.4 million people in this region when you put all those counties together. Automotive has always been our bread and butter. What are you hearing from the automotives that they want, that they need in order to make sure that it remains a key part of Michigan and the world's economy?
Well, from the national stage, they need a stable policy environment. Capital-intensive industries need lots of time to plan. We can't just move things, on a dime. So regardless what the policy is, even if the policy is not perfect, it needs to be there long term. Locally, or here in Michigan, what we need a welcoming business culture that we can count on year after year. One of the challenges that Michigan has had, in the last, 3 decades, is that we keep changing our economic development policy. We don't have a consistent policy. We get a new governor, we get a new policy. Mm-hmm. It's not that one's necessarily better or worse than the other, but we keep changing, and it's very difficult for businesses to plan around that.
People at home don't understand it if they never attended one. But once you get up there and you realize that oftentimes you can see a zillion people in a 3-day period that if you tried to schedule them in your office, it would take you probably 2 or 3 years to get there. What's the benefit of that?
Well, and I think the beauty of it is that when you get to the island, everybody is there as an individual who's attending the conference.
Kind of like the conclave, you're kind of closed in, right?
You're there.
You can't just go jump in the streets when you want to get away from somebody. Right?
And I think everybody's approachable. There are great idea sharing, and to your point, you can make a lot of contacts and share a lot of insights and get a lot of insights from people in a very short amount of time, even condensed over a few days. But it's really a unique, maybe in the country, a unique policy conference, and it's recognized as such, and credit to Sandy and the Chamber for putting on every year such a great forum.
Yeah, and Sandy, you could talk specifically about, there's a charm on Mackinac Island. There's something magical, something special about when you get movers and shakers in that particular location, even the toughest issues, oftentimes they can find common ground because of the geography of it all.
Chuck, you're absolutely right, and that's the reason.
Maybe
why
it's the lilacs. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, no, it's certainly, it's probably part of it, And we also have a bar or two up there too. I think that helps.
Yeah.
No, but in all seriousness, there's a reason why we do it on the island. The reason why the organization has been doing it on the island for 40 plus years now is that it is inconvenient for everybody. It doesn't matter if you live in Grand Rapids or Traverse City or Detroit. Getting to the conference is a pain in the you-know-what, right? So you're making an investment not just in money, but in time and in hassle to get there. So once you get there, we have the no-tie environment. Right. As Peter said, once you're there, it's a C-suite audience. Everyone's on equal footing. You can be a CEO of a Fortune 500 company, wandering the porch just like anybody else, and everyone's approachable. That is the beauty of the conference. If we did it in Grand Rapids or downtown Lansing, or you pick the place, right? It loses that charm, that ambiance. It loses that specialness. Because if I did it in downtown Detroit, as much as it would be easy for me and our team, I'd be losing people to their offices during the day. Yeah. I want them in the hotel.
Mr. Brewer, Mr. Quigley, when Spotlight returns, let's talk about some past Mackinac Policy Conference achievements and who's on tap to receive special honors at the conference this year. We'll be right back. Don't go away. So let's look back. Last year, you went up, you had the conference, but there's some key things that came out of that day as you look back and say, okay, that was one of the benefits of having policy.
You can look back in time, the work that finally got the Gordie Howe International Bridge crossing done, a lot of that work was done at the conference. Michigan's car insurance reform was completed at the conference. The final negotiations that got the grand bargain to save the city of Detroit were done at the conference. So there's a lot of things that happen at the conference that aren't necessarily on television on that main stage, but everything we put on that main stage is available to the public free of charge.
And Peter, when the conference is said and done, and you go back to quietness of your office, if it's ever quiet, but maybe on a Saturday or a Sunday when the rest of the staff's not there, what do you want to be able to say, okay, I know that I achieved my goals if this, and this happened?
As an ambassador of all of the attendees, to look back and say, not only was my money well invested, my time was well invested, I got a tremendous amount of those commitments, and I have something to carry back with me in my place of work, my organization, my educational institution, my philanthropy, and put it to work on behalf of the connections that I made, the common ground that I found with other individuals who have the same goals that I do with respect to the progress of the region and the state.
You've had an illustrious career at Kelly. Having this chairmanship to go along with that, what has it maybe taught you? How does it fit in to those experiences?
Well, first of all, I'm humbled and honored to be this year's chairperson, and it's taught me a lot. First of all, it's taught me what an amazing chamber we have and how committed they are to progressing the people, businesses, economy, the education, the talent of the region and the state. But working with other leaders who are all committed has taught me a lot about the importance of, again, trying to find an objective that we share, and how do we marshal the resources, the incredible resources we have, put them to work collectively so that we can grow the economy, we can grow our population, we can grow the number of high school graduates that get a degree or some kind of credential after they leave. Those are the things that I will look back on and hope we move forward.
Sandy Brewer, you get the quick last question. I would be remiss if we didn't end this program talking about a key person that has been at the chamber, Tammy Conray, the COO, and I understand you're going to be paying tribute to her up at the Mackinac Policy Conference.
Well, how could we not? Tammy has been such an integral part, not just of the chamber, but of the conference itself. She is really, I may be the CEO of the organization, but she's the CEO of the conference. So, in all the times that I work with Tammy, I definitely do what Tammy says when it comes to the conference. So we're definitely going to honor her, and we have two other dear friends that have meant a lot to the conference that we'll also acknowledge.
All right, and she's retiring at the end of the year?
She'll be with us until the end of the calendar year, but she's got to, she's going to kind of, ease her way out.
All right, and we wish her all the luck.
Oh, we absolutely do. We love her to death.
Sandy Brewer, thank you so much for coming in. Peter Quigley, thank you so much for coming in.
Chuck.
Best of luck with the Mackinac Policy Conference. You can get more information by going to the Chamber's website or come to Channel 7, WXYZ.com. We'll link the two together if that's easier for you. I'm Chuck Stokes. We'll be back next week with more newsmakers in the spotlight. We hope you have a great week.